Hello, Virgo. How's everybody doing? What a great way to start off my Friday. And thank you for being patient here as I continue to channel all the messages and get everything set up. I'm going to put this little sleeping beauty down. This is Apollo, if you've never met him before. But let's get started. There's a lot to talk about today. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. As I said, we're going to be taking a look at the sign of Virgo. And you can always use these readings for Sun, Rising, Moon, Venus. And for those of you that are more kind of versed in your chart, you can really use it for any aspect of that. The beginning portion of what I'm going to talk about today is actually perfect for anybody that showed up. I'll give you a quick peek at what I've been doing. I have a bunch of messages here that I've channeled for your sign. But the way that I work is also anybody who shows up to the room can also benefit from the messages. And that's whether you show up live or watch it on replay later. So there's a few major parts. Let's talk about that, and then we'll get into the reading itself. I always like to begin with basically just psychic downloads. These come through my dreams, through meditations, and through the act of just automatic writing. And then in addition to that, I like to combine that with cards. So the next portion, I'll be looking at tarot, obviously. And with the Celtic cross, I let it take on any sort of energy it needs to. I know a lot of readers will specifically look at like your partner or your life or whatever. I just kind of like let it be whatever it needs to be, very organic. And then I compartmentalize it in the expanded forecast to health, wealth, love, and destiny. I think that's a lot more effective than solely focusing for an hour on someone else in your life. It's all about you, and that's why you showed up here. So the center portion should be you, and then we look at the other aspects of your life. After that, I will take a look at the soul path after we do a little mini review. And the soul path is basically a few of the areas that need a little bit more TLC, a little bit more love and concern. And sometimes it can be a roadblock, sometimes it can be an opportunity, but I usually pick two things and a wild card, and then we'll meditate together. And at the very end, I will pull a final card with whatever question you might have. And if you want to see me a little bit more frequently, I'm starting to do short readings, by the way. I do it on Instagram and TikTok, so feel free to follow me on social media. I'll put out those links a little bit later, but we've got a lot to talk about at first here. So let me just first go over one question that I see my moderators have to answer a lot. I don't take questions here. If I do a Q&A, I will do that, but it will specifically be called out as a Q&A session. Sometimes if I go live on Instagram or TikTok, I will answer questions. So it's a good reason to follow me on those two platforms in addition to this. So with a larger audience here, I need to stay in the channel, and there's a lot that we go through. So if you want to show support today, I saw someone already did that. Thank you so much, by the way. You can click on this icon here right by the emojis, and from there you can either give a super sticker, super chat, or you can join the channel. All of these are really great. I had a channel member the other day ask how else they can give. I'm like, you're already doing a great job just by being a channel member. All three, I give you choices. There's 3 different choices there. And on my website, if you would prefer to use PayPal, there's another way to give back. This helps me make more videos. I'm doing more videos now than I've ever done because of your support. Liking, subscribing, and sharing this content also helps. So please do that. They're different ways. The last one is free. Whatever you want to do, it helps a lot. All right, that's really the high level notes. So let's get into the reading here. Last night, there were 2 symbols that came through in dreams. So these are going to be your totems today. And let me just unlock my iPad here. And what I'm seeing with the first one that I saw was really beautiful. It's symbolic. I mean, it's basically about not giving up. I saw an egg, and it was specifically a chicken's egg. The first thing that I saw, though, was that if you've ever held a raw egg before, they're very delicate. And I think that there was this sense of, oh, I'm fine or whatever, and the egg smashed. So the second time you got it, I saw like a lot of love and care. So we're going to look at a chicken egg because what we want to see is this cute little baby chick. That's what we really want to see. We don't want to see a broken egg, and we don't want to deal with the mess of the yolk getting everywhere. We want to get that cute little baby chick. And there's a lot of really great energy with the egg as well. It's a divine feminine symbol, so we'll talk about that. And then the second piece that came through was rain. And one of the things that I will remind you of here today is even places where there is no rain, like after a monsoon hits in the desert, you can see sort of like this wild bloom that happens. All of a sudden, all of these dormant seeds, dormant flowers suddenly take root and start to blossom. And so I got 2 divine feminine symbols for you. We have the chicken, specifically its egg, and this and rain, which is in and of itself very, very effective at creating fertility, abundance, cleansing. It's all really positive, but there may be some emotional stuff to work through today, and that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get into that. Let me just check my sound settings here, make sure everything's coming through okay. It is okay. All right. So as I said, you're going to have a dual totem today. There's been a few of these this month where there's two. So the chicken, particularly its egg, and rain itself. The chicken is a symbol of the divine feminine, and I think it really portends abundance and fertility. But there is this, like I said, this sort of fragility or delicate energy around this opportunity in the future for you. So just like an egg, you have to be careful with it because that shell looks like it's really tough, but it's not. And even you or people in your life may sort of be symbolic of that egg where you've got it together now and you've worked hard to get to that point, but there's still a little bit of work before you're ready to break through that shell and be that strong little baby chick. So give yourself a little time and make sure that you are not taking the sort of delicate nature of a new dream or a new idea for granted. Anybody who started something new, you know this too. There's a little bit of a protective energy around something before you're ready to share it with others. If you're an artist, if you're building a house, if you're doing anything and it's like, I know where this is going to be. I can see it. I can visualize it. I can feel it. And I'm not going to let the other people's insecurities get into that energy just yet. So I'm going to hold back. I think it's okay to do that because initially creation is between you, whatever you're creating, and the creator. So it's sort of like this, this trinity, if you will, of you, your idea, and the divine. So don't be afraid to kind of like keep it there for a little bit until the baby chick is ready to hatch. So what I saw in my vision in particular was, like I said, there was a failed attempt or some sort of a roadblock. So the first egg cracked and broke open. I saw the yolk spill out, which is why I knew it was a chicken egg. And what happened with this is once that one cracked open, you understood then the responsibility and I guess the sort of delicate energy of nurturing something new or birthing something new. You have to be patient. And I did the math here, or did the research, and we'll talk about it. It takes about 21 days for an egg to hatch. So we're on like a 3-week trajectory here for abundance and maybe manifestation. But I jumped ahead of myself. But that's something you want to be patient. It could take up to a month for what you're trying to accomplish to come true. These readings, by the way, are good for about up 6 to 8 weeks. It can be up to 2 months because we're doing this in advance. So give yourself time. You've got at least a couple of months to make whatever it is you're trying to make happen. What's important is how you finish, how you bring together all of the information. So as long as you are adapting, learning, and improving along the way, things are okay, right? As I did some research online, chickens are actually intelligent. They can recognize faces. I was reading about this test where they would hide an item, put it out of sight, but the chicken knew it was there, even if it couldn't see it. And they said that that was something that even children couldn't do initially, human children. So chickens are smart for the size of their brain and for their body, pretty intelligent. What I want to take away from that is the facial recognition, and for us, putting a face with a name. Doing your best this month to acknowledge people for contributions. Saying thank you for helping, thank you for this. Gratitude is always good. And then learning their names. For those of you that are like a teacher, you do this naturally already, but you know it's not easy. You have to use sort of like mnemonic devices and everything. So do your best to find a way to remember, because it means a lot to the people that are being remembered, and they're going to work harder for, with, or around you. So it's good practice, good energy, and it's going to help you quite a bit. There's literally a pecking order. We say that for a reason with chickens, and it's a social hierarchy that basically maintains order. So oddly enough, I never thought I would associate the chicken with the Hierophant, but when I do these totems, that's what happens here. So you might face a bureaucratic loop or some sort of like a traditional mindset that you have to contend with, and I think you're going to be fine as long as you are sticking to facts and finding a common ground. More importantly, respecting, even if you don't agree with the rules and tradition. A lot of times people are ready to change. They just need a reason to do it and a person to fight for. So you want to find an ally. You don't want to fight with someone. Say, I think we can agree that this is what we want, but I'm having trouble with this. What can we do? Is there a way around this? You know, if you are nice to somebody, they may be able to say, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Why don't I talk to such and such? You know what I mean? So work with, sometimes you need to work with the assistants, like the administrative assistant to someone, you know, like a production assistant, something like that, because they're going to know better what's possible. Sometimes the person in charge, they're just too much by the numbers, but the people around them are like, no, 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 we deal with this all the time. You just need the right person to tell that person that it's okay, because sometimes they don't want to put themselves out there because they're afraid of their status and everything. So working within the hierarchy, observing the rights and the rules and the regulation, but also reminding that person, hey, this is already changing, or there's something that's going to happen in a month from now. Let's let this through. I feel like you can get through that block if it exists for you. Otherwise, we're looking at how you can organize your life, because this is a highly structured sort of symbol, totem that came through, and maybe getting people to recognize your position in the pecking order as well. Okay. Now let's talk about what I was hinting at, which I wanted to see, can we get a time marker on this? Because I as a viewer, that's what I would want to know. So it takes 21 days for a chicken egg to hatch if you're trying to incubate it. So you're on this 3-week journey, roughly, of manifestation, depending on when you watch this. And during this period, you just want to be patient. You want to put in your all, and you realize you can't rush it. There are some things where there is a set amount of time for something to be done. This is true of approvals and construction, and certain things just take a while for it to properly be done. And if you're cooking things, the same thing. If you put more heat, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to cook better. You could burn it, right? Some of you may feel this need to be a mother hen, a protective hen during this period of time. So we want to pull in now the Empress energy. And I would say focus on the upright, not the reversed Empress. There's a big difference between the two. Things need space to breathe. And when the Empress is reversed, she is sometimes suffocating it out. And just like a little baby chick, if you hold it too tight, it's going to suffocate. That's not going to be a good thing. You need to kind of give it space to grow, to breathe. And so, yes, protecting and nurturing and fostering something to its next stage is important, but you've got to be easy to work with as well. So if you're a boss, or if you're a mom, or if you're a partner to someone, they need to have some freedom to make mistakes, or to explore as well. So yes, it's good to oversee, but don't kind of like over control things. If you're dealing with a mother hen type in your life, Empress reversed, have boundaries, but avoid unnecessary conflict, because they're protective. It's a protective symbol, and you really don't want to get on this person's bad side. So what we see here is a common theme of figuring out how to work in or around some sort of a person that might be a block. I talked earlier this month about sort of a gatekeeper. It's a little bit different here. This feels like there might be 1 or 2 people that are like that, where you're just going to have to figure out how to put them at ease and to kind of like move around, because they're not gonna budge so much. When I think of Empress or Hierophant, they're used to having things a certain way. So you'll figure out how to work around them, and I think that's going to be key. All right, let's talk about your next big symbol. So the next symbol was a rainstorm. And it felt to me like monsoon season, because it was like one rainstorm after another rainstorm. And I felt like I was going from place to place trying to hide from the rain, but it just kept finding me. So obviously it's a symbol. It's not just rain. And I would say for you, there could be like a physical move that's happening too, because I saw the movement. But there's also like face the rain, or face this energy as well. Because if we break down 3 big things that rain mean to me, first of all, it can be a transition. It could be a tumultuous transition, but it's one that felt like it was necessary and ultimately rewarding. And that's when I was showing you that sort of like super bloom that happens after a rainstorm in the desert. It's gorgeous, and it's a little tough to get through, but once you see all the flowers blooming, it's like, yeah, that was totally worth it. Look at all those beautiful colors that happen after a rainstorm, and it goes from this barren environment to something short-lived too. So sometimes when we go through something like this, it's a little bit difficult, it's concentrated, it's beautiful. Enjoy the moment, soak it in quite literally, right? The next thing is, of course, fertility, right? And that's what I was talking about. It portends a new start, a new beginning. And this new beginning, there might be a lot that happens at once, and you want to take advantage of this because the monsoon season isn't forever. And so, we're looking at maybe 1 or 2 months here where there's going to be rapid growth, rapid movement. Could be a little bit emotionally taxing for you as you're going through it. But when you're done, you're going to look at how far you've come and how much things have grown, yourself included, and you're going to feel much better. Of course, rain is also releasing emotional trauma. So it's time to heal and blossom. There's a common theme here about blooming, expanding, growing. But in order to do that, we have to release. Rain is release. We have to soak in the lessons, and we have to take advantage of this moment to really expand and grow. So beautiful symbols that came through for you. And now let me talk about one last thing that I'd like to leave you with before we get into the reading. So I'd like to remind folks from time to time that they control the narrative. So if you write a story, of course, you understand that, but we're actually all the authors in our own lives as well. So if you don't like your current quote unquote story, write a new one, create a new one, because you are writing it every day with thoughts. So imagine that you were meeting a friend at the bar or at a restaurant or somewhere like a first date, and you were explaining what your life is. Think about if it's how you feel about it. Are there things that are really stressing you out? How would you focus on it? And then imagine how it would sound from the other person's perspective if you would say, oh gosh, work is terrible. My best friend's driving me nuts. The house has a leaky roof, et cetera, et cetera. We all know people like that where it just is one thing after another, and it feels like the energy is coming out. So what you want to focus on instead is thinking, you know what, there's a lot going on. I'm not going to lie, but I'm really excited about 2 or 3 things that I'm starting to open up. Like I'm going back to school. I just met someone really cool. This. You could start to kind of focus on what you're creating rather than the things that are kind of like pushing you down. And if there is someone, you could say, I just had it like, I really feel like I found my voice. I'm going to go talk to my boss about this, or this. It's all about how you look at it. You could either feel like you're being oppressed, or you could feel like you're going to change things. So I'm encouraging you to feel like you can change it and talk about where you're inspired to change it. Ask for advice on how they've dealt with something. You could say, hey, I wanted to meet because you inspired me with how you dealt with this, or this. Can I ask some advice? I'd like to also overcome this. That puts you in the power position rather than life happening to you and against you. It's happening for you and with you. So that was another message with the sort of creative energy of the chicken, the egg, and the rain. This is telling me there's movement and growth, but there's a little bit of a release that has to happen as well. There's a cool song by Tracy Chapman. I think I've talked about it before. It's called New Beginning. And so what she talks about in that song is redefining things, redefining the old things. And so what she says is like, let's make new symbols, make new signs, make a new language, and redefine the world around us. So language, which we just talked about, signs and symbols, it's how we interpret things, which is why, by the way, in like dystopian novels, people want to take away the ability to read or to understand, because when you take away that's power, that's thought, that's expansion. When we redefine our symbols and our language, we redefine what's possible. When you say, even if you go from I can't to I might, that's a step in the right direction. Go towards I will, I am, and you're going to be really, really strong. Okay? Those are your messages that came through for channeled guidance this morning. So I'm going to stack up all of the cards. If you missed anything, don't worry. This is what the midpoint will be about. I'll quickly go through everything before we get into the soul space. So I also post this on social media. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, or on Twitter, now's a great time. And for those of you that have watched me for years and years but have never hit the subscribe button, you should, because on my community page, I also post a list of all of these things. So plus it helps the channel. So thank you so much. Those little things make a big difference, just a vote of confidence, and it helps you to serve this up to other people so that I can continue to make more content. So it's kind of like win-win. So I don't know if I have the box nearby. I thought I did, but I don't. So I'll be reading with a deck that I actually have been able to purchase through your help. It's called Afro Goddess Tarot Arcanas. So yeah, I'll pull the, I'm looking around, but I don't know where I put the deck cover. So let's just get into the cards and begin today's reading. So welcome, Virgo, if you just joined. We'll be using this for Sun, Rising, Moon, and Venus. Although if you know your chart, we can look at it for really any aspect of that. Also, if you're not sure and you just need some help or guidance, you showed up to the right place. Just stick around. There's always messages for whoever shows up. It's good to see everybody. There's a Hierophant. Oh, and I found the deck. It was hidden under my iPad. I thought I did. Maybe it's not. I'll find it later at the end of the program here. Oh, here it is. Okay, so if you're interested, you can get it on my website. I don't get any kind of kickback for it. I just wanted to show you because I know a lot of people ask. And it should be the first feature deck. All right, we definitely have a lot of synchronicities here, particularly with this transformational card, with this timing card that we have here as well, and the Hierophant. I'm excited to see how this kind of factors in for everything. All right, so we'll begin with your Catalyst card. So this is I think it's an old Greek word, and I believe it has to do with timing, divine timing of things. But when I'm looking at this also, I'm looking at the eye here at the center, which is to sort of like be aware of this moment in time. And I think the important thing for you is to really focus on how you got where you are right now, and to look at things from all different angles. So whenever I see sort of like a third eye or a divine eye coming through, this is really saying that there's something bigger to this picture. And also you have a lot more control and ability to create, to move, to affect what's going on than you may give yourself credit for. So really get that bird's eye view that you need right now, and realize, like I said at the very end, that you are actively creating your narrative. So recreate the narrative if you need to or want to, and we'll take it from there. All right, your center card. So we have the Seven of Swords here. And the Seven of Swords is interesting. She's reversed, but let's just pull her upright. So we notice that there's a couple swords here hidden in the background. We see a snake. We see this sort of spotlight. There's a distracting element to the Seven of Swords because you're focusing on her, not what's going on back here, right? I would say if there is someone in your life that you know that something's going on and they're trying to sort of push out some other projection, I want you to trust what you know. Also, don't let there be someone that comes in your life and distracts or detracts you from your path, because this could also just be a temptation. And it could be a self sort of defeatist energy too, where you know not to connect with someone, but you do it anyway. So be mindful of distractions, of illusions, and of projections. Those sort of things are actually coming through with this because they're not what they seem. They're not what they seem to be. And this can just be a deceptive card. It doesn't have to be a person doing it. It can be our own mind, our own fears, sort of projecting or manifesting or pulling us towards these situations. It can also be the little white lies that we tell ourselves. And so you have to really, really be ready for something to happen before you're able to make the change in your life. So for those of you that have ever dealt with someone in your life, either yourself or others that are trying to get sober, that person has to be ready for that sobriety to set in before that it can really set, right? If you're also trying to do something like change your habits, stop drinking, stop smoking, exercise more, get out of a bad relationship or sort of toxic energy, usually there's this moment where it's a trigger and you think, I'm not going to do this anymore. So for everyone, the trigger is going to be different, but look into your life and say, do I need to really go to that trigger, or can I just get ahead of this now and focus on the beautiful path ahead of me? So this is really just about getting real with yourself, not committing to something before you can do it. This can also be overcommitment. If your family, boss, friend, etc., asks you to do this laundry list of things and you just keep saying yes, but you feel the sense of dread and like, how am I going to do this? When is this going to get, do I have enough resources, et cetera, et cetera. Better to ask those questions in the moment as they're happening than to wait for them later to kind of build up. So honesty, transparency, and not giving into projections or fears. It's one of your roadblocks. But right on top of it, we have the not the King of Cups, but the Knight of Cups, the Son of Cups here. Beautiful card. So if you can get past that, there's this emotional sort of energetic energy that you can kind of ride after that, which I love here. You don't want to fall victim to your energy either, because that's what's crossing the Seven of Swords. So sometimes it's just that feeling of being afraid, uncertain, or unaware, maybe uncomfortable with anxiety that can kind of step in the way. Instead, use other elements of passion, like I can't wait for this event in my life to happen, and everything that I'm doing makes it worth it. So the stress in my life, I can manage now because I understand why I'm working for it. So be passionate about something in the future. Try not to let the stress of today anchor you down. And I think that's going to be really effective at getting past that. All right, we have the Lovers in the deep past. So for many of you, you've actually gotten to a place where either your energy is highly attractive. So this can just be one of the best magnet cards, and I call them magnet cards in tarot, which means that you can call in what you're looking for. So you've done the requisite energy to call in energy that you want, opportunities that you want. So that's good. Some of you may have met somebody that you're really connecting with. You don't have to be in love to get the Lovers. What it's just showing is people want to be around you, or they want some of whatever it is that you're sort of offering up there symbolically. So I think that's really important. However, there's going to be some challenges in relationships this month, key relationships. Lovers can also be you loving someone in your life, like a best friend, a parent, a sibling, that sort of unconditional love or that familial love. And we see some issues and some challenges. I'm just going to show them with the camera here real quick, because we did get some of the swords here. So we have 7 of Swords, 10 of Swords, and we have the 5 of Swords. But the rest of the deck is pretty good. Everything else is positive. So this is about honesty and transparency. This is about not kind of being triggered and getting into an argument. We also have the King of Swords here, reverse. So I think elevating speech this month and not arguing unnecessarily is key. We see someone around you in the environment here. I actually love this because it's such a clear visual with the 5 of Swords that is either going to have to probably eat their words or is trying to get you to say something that you might regret. You're going to avoid this path. It's actually, you can see it, it's a little block in the middle of the beautiful flow here, because then we have Lovers, Queen of Pentacles, the Moon, and it's upright. We have the Sun card here, and then we have the Hierophant. So all the rest of the cards are pretty positive, but there's this little thing in the center, which could hit you in the middle of the month, which could be a sort of thread that carries itself out that you want to avoid, because it's not a necessary, it's just a distraction. So I'm going to try to help you navigate around it, okay? Anyway, I want you to focus on this, because one thing that's important is if whatever it is that you're putting this energy into, work or a relationship, if you're not getting the reciprocation back from that, then it's not the right investment, because you have this to offer. And if the other person isn't seeing that, take that energy and invest it elsewhere. I posted something on TikTok where Dolly Parton says, someone asked her what she would do to win back a lover. She said, absolutely nothing. If the person doesn't like me, why would I put energy back into that? And I agree with her on that. So if someone isn't seeing what your worth is, and it looks like your worth is pretty good based on the deep past, then that's their loss. Because we have the Queen of Pentacles, Goddess of Pentacles right here. This is someone who can create whatever they need or whatever they want. It's also a very independent card. This is the mother hen energy too. So you have this ability to protect, to create, and you don't have to hold on to something that doesn't feel right anymore. Because just as this came through in the past, you can bring it forth in the future as well. This is really good for business, by the way. So if there's anything that you really want to see come to fruition, to me, this is next to the Empress card, the Universal Mother card for me. I see Queen and King of Pentacles as like house, home, finances, dynasty, whatever you want to think of. Like it's that sort of lasting thing that you're creating in your life. So this is fantastic. Focus on bringing forth your goals in work, in school, in personal sort of achievements. You have the ability to really make that happen this month, okay? What we see in the crowning position, which can indicate what's going on in your headspace, is the King of Swords in reverse. So I like King of Swords. And I think even King and Queen of Swords reverse can be good signs. However, connected with Seven of Swords, Five of Swords, which by the way are my like sibling cards when it comes to the Swords family, and then the Ten of Swords, you have to be very careful this month. So if we were to elevate the message of King of Swords reverse, he would get in and out of a conversation as quickly as possible. Would not focus on hurting or exacerbating any sort of existing trauma, drama, or issues. It would just be like, you asked for this, here it is, I'm working on this, is tomorrow okay? Like a work sort of thing, like in and out. Or I know things are difficult, I need 5 minutes of your time. Can I put it on your calendar? So you could be direct. What you want to be careful of is if there's criticism, you're going to want to take it from this probably and go here and start with something and focus on like the growth and the path that someone has taken to get where they're at. And then say, but we still need to do a little bit of work here and I'm here for you. I'd like to help you with that. It's a lot better than you didn't do what I wanted you to do. So you're going to have to find a way to not sugarcoat, but to realize that there's some heightened tensions around you and you don't want to kind of like shake up the hornet's nest, right? So you're going to try to be direct. You're going to try to be sensitive and supportive, and I think you'll be all right. But there is sort of like, because of this timing card here that we have here, you might have to get someone's direction back on what matters. So you may be dealing with somebody, not just who has the Five of Swords energy, but may also have the Two of Swords where they're distracted or not paying attention to it. So as King of Swords, you're going to gently redirect them and get them to see things from the right perspective. And I think that's the challenge, is how to do it without stressing someone out, yourself included. You're going to be fine, because with the King of Swords in the crowning position, that is a very good card for language, diplomacy, everything that I was just talking about at the end. Redefine things a little bit and find a way to better articulate or project it out there so that person can see it from a different angle. Don't be afraid to work with someone else that's close to that person as well, because it may come across better from another person, from a different sort of different speaker than you. So don't be afraid to do that if necessary. All right, let's talk about the Ten of Swords. So what I like about Ten of Swords is it is an end point. There is a positivity to this one. And this is the least morbid Ten of Swords that I've seen, one of them anyway, because we see the rising sun. We see a lot of butterflies coming through in this particular collection of cards. So I want to remind you that sometimes we have to know what we don't want in order to figure out what we want. So for some of you, there may be this full stop ending where you just think, all right, I've had enough. And it's a wonderful thing. I remember, I think it was in one of the collectives, I talked about what triggered me to quit my job. And it was just having someone call me in on a holiday that I'd asked off, and they didn't even bother to look at the calendar to see if I was supposed to be working. And I didn't complain, because it was the kind of place that you couldn't do that. But in my head, I thought, this is it. That was the final straw. I've been working really, really hard. I'm tired. And now I have to come in on 2 holidays, actually. And that was it. And so that was my Ten of Swords, but there was no breakdown. I just sat there, did the work, went home, and I circled a date on the calendar for the next month, and I quit. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So my Ten of Swords was beautiful. It burned me out. It can be burnout. It can be the fuse that just finally, that's it. It can be a little puff, or it can be a big argument. So you get to choose how you want to handle the Ten of Swords. It can just be the extinguishing of an energy. So let's redefine the Ten of Swords as, I'm just tired of this, right? She's tired of it. Enough. Enough is enough. Okay? So wherever the enough is in your life, choose to just peacefully step away from that. You don't have to fight it out. Because usually by that time, who cares, right? It's kind of like you've been through all the feels. Now, with this 10 of Swords, there can also be, you need to focus on back health. I've been getting a lot of 10s, 10 of Wands, 10 of Swords coming through. So a lot of us are carrying more weight, more burden in our life, figuratively speaking. And so you really want to focus on upper back, lower back. And you might benefit from something like acupuncture. Oddly enough, 10 of Swords can be a card for getting some acupuncture done. So take care of yourself, okay? In your ego space here, we have the Moon card, and this is your power. Notice how she's parting the seas, right? And so sometimes you don't have to. There's another card in another deck. Let me see if I can find it. I thought I saw it was near the top here. Yeah, I can't. In the Light Seers deck, we see a Moon card where the person kind of is sinking beneath the surface, but I can't find it quick enough. We don't need to feel like we are drowning. There's a better way around this. So start to manifest the fact that you may be able to find a less sort of stressful path, that there may be someone who actually goes out of their way to make it easier for you. And see yourself as this sort of like divine feminine symbol here. I can actually move the water, control the tides, use my emotions for something really positive. And the cool thing with this one is we do see the little scorpion there, or the sometimes it's a lobster or whatever, but you see the whatever it was that you were looking at. Look how small it is. Sometimes our fears are not that big. Normally you would see that little creature coming up out of the water, and you never know if it's going to be something big or something scary. She's just walking through the path and she's unbothered by that. So overcoming fears is the main message with this. Divine feminine energy is the main message with this as well. And you can move something further, faster, and more quickly than you thought you could. So trust in that, okay? I like this Moon card a lot, and I like that it's upright, and I like that it's in your representing you, yourself position here. But you're gonna have to part through and move through some of your emotional energy as well. So do what you need to do to release, to process, and to heal. This is what you wanna avoid, because I think this brings about this. This is near future and this is environment. So if you avoid these things, instead we have a Hierophant here at the end, which is a lot better. So this is an avoidable step based on not letting this person's words get under your skin, not letting yourself fall into the trap of being the Five of Swords. Because the interesting thing with this one is it hurts others just as much as it hurts yourself. She's cutting her tongue, and she's also, you know, kind of like licking the wound, the blood, or whatever, the person that said whatever they said. So there's this combination of, sometimes people feed off that energy, but they're just hurting themselves too. It's a double-edged sword, basically. So why argue with someone when you can't win? Why have communications with people that don't listen? I know that I've had people in my life where you tell them to stop, like, you know, don't email me or leave me alone, but they don't listen because they're not really connected. And so the best thing to do is just not to feed that energy. So for me, if there's something that I don't like, rather than give it a lot of attention, I'll say one thing, I'll say stop. And then if it doesn't work, then I move away from that. I'm not going to keep putting energy into something that doesn't make sense and talk to someone that doesn't listen. So redirect, because otherwise it's just like it's a hamster wheel. You're going in circles. There are points in your life where you have to stand up for yourself and you have to be direct, of course, King of Swords reversed. But because we have King of Swords, Seven of Swords, 10 of Swords, and 5 of Swords, in this particular combination of those cards, I would say sometimes people around you won't listen, won't see, won't care. And in that case, you're going to put your time and energy into something that is much more worth it. You know what I'm saying? So as my own throat kind of feels the energy of the 5 of Swords, I hear you, universe. It's not worth it. So the opportunity this month is the Sun card. We have a reverse Sun, but it's still really, really positive. The Sun card is very magnetic as well. For you, this is about charisma, and it's how you come across to others. When I look at like the Magician, it's often chemistry. So it would be more like if you're going to date someone and you just kind of have this attraction. This is something more like admiration. The reversal of this, this is also double-edged. I would say the good side of this is it's telling you to invest in things that make you feel better, to focus on improving self-worth, to kind of build up your own ego a little bit. You may also be dealing with someone in your life that has a big ego, that might be too selfish or too self-focused. And even when you are focusing on yourself, you want to keep a balance. So don't take yourself too seriously. Try not to let other people who take themselves too seriously get under your skin. They're just, there's a lot. They're extra, as we would say nowadays. But the sun card is great. This is perfect for where we're at right now because Northern Hemisphere is summertime. For some of you, this can be one circle around the sun. So we're looking at a new solar cycle for the next year. For those of you that have or had birthdays recently, this is also a really good symbol. So just imagine that things are going to get better. Look at the sunny side of things, and I think that's great. We also have a divine partnership here with these two cards. We have the moon upright. We have the sun reversed. Sun and moon to me are partners. The moon has their stuff together. That's you. This ostensibly could be your partner. And in that case, I would say what's difficult here is that they're focused more on things like work, personal gain, their own stuff in their own life and family. Meanwhile, it feels like you're moving mountains, or in this case, the tides, to make things happen. So we need to see more sort of energy, reciprocity that coming through. Also, intrinsically, there's a little bit of a power difference between the sun and the moon because this is more of a satellite. But technically speaking, the Earth is rotating around the sun and the moon is rotating around the Earth, which is also still rotating around the sun. So potato, potato, they're both still pretty strong. And our particular moon is very large. It's one of the larger moons it's almost like we're a twin planetary system. It's pretty big. So I feel like these are little illusions, and this pecking order that we're talking about, just because someone has a title, a degree, more experience, more years on the planet, doesn't mean that they're stronger, better, or more important than you. And that's where this power dynamic could be playing in between the sun and the moon. Next thing is, and by the way, with respect to our planet, the moon is more powerful because the moon is closer and the tides are more controlled by the moon. The sun, further away, if we didn't have the moon, we would still have tides, but they'd be very weak. So this is an example of proximity. And sometimes it's not about how big the energy is, how important someone is. It's about how close, how powerful, how kind of connected something is. So that's something, just kind of geeking out on astronomy, not just astrology. The moon's more important because it's closer and it affects us more and we see it all the time. So, okay. So just keep that in mind. And then we have now exactly what I was talking about. We've got the keys on the Hierophant card. We have someone here who can help you, but they do want that sort of energy of respect, admiration, sometimes even feeling like they need validation, all of that stuff. So sometimes you have to stroke someone's ego a little bit because we have the Sun card in order for them to open up the door. It's annoying and it's a glass ceiling or it's some sort of a block that will eventually fall away. But to get to the next side, you might have to work through that and swallow pride for a moment. And then one day, when you have the power, change the system. For yourself, this is also saying that you're beyond that. You are kind of rebellious. There's definitely a rebellious energy because the Sun is a baby and the Hierophant is very traditional. When the two of these are reversed, this is saying like that you're going to do what you want to do because you feel like you need to do it. It's a little bit, there can be a tantrum energy to that, but it's also a very rebellious sort of fun energy, playful. And this is saying, I'm not going to fit in any sort of box or mold that you're trying to build for me. When I use the Fountain Tarot deck, the Hierophant is opening up a box. So you're kind of like that here, which is like, I know what the old tradition is, but that's not me. I'm going to turn you guys topsy-turvy and we're going to try something different. So I get the rebellious side. I get the need to make changes. I think the challenge this month is how to do that in a way that is direct, but not jarring. And then to avoid an emotional trigger that could bring you into 5, 10, and 7 of Swords. So keep your eye on the prize, on where you're supposed to be going. Be mindful of this moment. You might also need to get someone else looking at things from a different perspective. All right, let's expand your forecast and look at health, wealth, love, and destiny next, which will give us some additional insights into what I just talked about. All right, looking at your health card, we have honesty and communication. The card is reversed. So for some of you, the most difficult thing for you is to how to kind of like be patient and listen to someone when they're driving you crazy, and how to be honest with someone without them. I feel like there's someone in your midst that just has like they're very sensitive, right? We would call it like too thin of a skin, and so it's difficult. And it may be something for some of you that you just have to evaluate how much more or how patient you can be with that kind of energy. If someone's willing to change or willing to listen, great. But if not, it feels like there's a really important reason that you need to be honest and direct with them. So sometimes when you say what you need to say, it's not going to be popular. If you're a parent or a boss, you know this firsthand. Your kid doesn't necessarily want to go to bed, but if they don't go to bed by like 8 o'clock, they're not going to get up for school the next day. They may not want to eat breakfast, but if they don't, you know, they're going to have problems focusing as they go to school, etc. If you are a boss and you have to deliver a deadline and people don't want to hear it, it's not going to be fun. And sometimes it's necessary, but leadership requires difficult decisions and honest conversations and difficult conversations. Maybe I'll do a mini, we'll look at it in your soul path, and maybe that's something that I'll do on TikTok later as a how to have a difficult conversation. But we'll do at least one card. I want to write that down today so that we can see how to navigate difficult conversations. And we'll get some information on that for you when we do the soul path, because I think that's going to be key. I'll look at some messages here as well, but be honest with yourself, be honest with others. That's going to be really important. We're looking at something here more from a peace of mind perspective than your body itself. I would say if you're talking to a doctor, however, it's important to talk about what's going on in real terms, because the Seven of Swords can be trying to lie to yourself and lie to the doctor. Just tell them the truth so that they can help you. So with respect to health, be honest about what's going on and what's not working. With relationships, which also affect mental health, you have to be real with people around you. It will eventually sort itself out, or you're going to get the clarity that you need to know that you don't want to deal with certain people. So whatever happens, it's going to be okay at the end of the day. Specifically with health, like I said, you want to focus on spinal health, any sort of chronic pain that you might be dealing with in your life. This is the important time to get the healing necessary for that as well. Okay. Let's look at what else is coming through here. The other thing here, when I'm looking at the Sun card, this can be solar plexus. With the card in reverse, some of you, if there are power struggles going on, since we also have the Hierophant attached to that, it can actually affect digestion, or you could be feeling like a knot in your stomach. Obviously, if it's something that persists, you want to go to the doctor, because that could be an ulcer or something else, or there could be some sort of a digestive issue going on. So you always want to talk to a doctor if something is happening there. The Sun card can also be a need to kind of do like a urine test or something like that, or if there's any problems with the urinary tract. Same thing with the Moon. They're usually urinary and reproductive tracts. The reproductive tract with the Moon looked better. It looks more like it might be something like bladder related. So may just need more water, because I had all that stuff coming through. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just looking at symbols here. So no matter what's going on with your health, you should talk to a professional. But looking at stress management would be really good, and trying not to get involved in some of these conversations, I think, is key as well. Ultimately, with the Queen of Pentacles, I like that card here. This is telling me that you should be able to turn it around. She's pretty strong. So is the Hierophant. So put your mind to it and be stubborn like the Hierophant would, and you should start to see some progress. Okay. You notice, like, I occasionally have herbal tea, but I switched to just water this year, and it was a really positive shift, because an occasional bit of caffeine is not going to kill you. So that's fine. But if you're doing it all the time, it actually dehydrates you. You get to a point where you are numb to it. Actually, you could have a drink of caffeine before going to bed and it doesn't affect you. So let it go for a while and see how it feels. And then you're going to notice that when and if you have it, it's really strong again, and you'll be in control of it. So drink more water. I get used to it. Now I'm just thirsty for water. After 6 or 7 months, you just don't miss it as much. Okay, so let's move on to the next piece. Looking at wealth, we have the Medicine Guardian here, open to healing and information. So for some of you, it's time to heal the environment around you. If it's a toxic environment, you might need to ask for help. So when we look at the Medical Guardian, I can actually even abstract this as far as human resources, if you will. So who is your go-to that can help bring about the necessary change and healing? You may not be able to get something done yourself. You might need someone to step in and mediate, moderate, whatever, all of the above. Keeping an open mind is also key with this particular card. So it says, be open to healing information. That could be criticism. This could be advice on how to better your money management or debts, all of the above. Specifically, as I look at, I mean, I'm happy that we just got one resource card for you, but it's a good one. It's the Queen of Pentacles. So you're able to, I think, make something happen easily this month. It's just communication that gets in the way. We have to keep focusing on seven of swords, 10 of swords, 5 of swords, and the king of swords reverse. I think if you can just navigate the communication sort of challenges, you can then leverage this strong relationship that we see with the lovers and the sun and the moon. And then, you know, the Hierophant here being able to move things and create a new language or new sort of organization. All of that's going to be okay. Just don't fall into communication traps. And I think that's going to be important. One thing that I would say with anybody that's looking at your money, you need to have visibility in your finances. So if you are running a company, you should be looking at the ledger. If you're married to someone, you have to have access to the checking account. If you are just trying to figure out how to get further along in your monetary health, you have to be real with yourself too. So sometimes when we get in debt or when we're overwhelmed, we just don't want to read the mail or look at the balance or whatever. But this is saying, no, you've got to look at it, put the spotlight on it, and manage it. And that's going to be important too. And in respect to money, you have to have that difficult conversation with somebody and cut your losses if you need to. With the 5 and 7, at a certain point, you just walk away if it doesn't work. And one thing that I think is coming across for all levels, whether you're a student in your career or retired, is don't feel like it's win or lose. It's how you finish the game. Also on this planet, it's how you finish the race. So God doesn't judge us, we judge ourselves. We are kind of like springing forth from the divine. In soul review, we look at our life through our eyes, through others' eyes, and we judge ourselves. So don't judge yourself so harshly. Just realize that each failure is sort of a stepping stone to success, right? You need that in order to realize what didn't work, what to do. You're testing things out. In marketing, that's what happens. You A/B test. You test one, you test another. One fails, the other one works better. You do that, and then you do a couple of other tests. So it's all about trial and error, right? That's what science is about. You run tests and experiments. A lot of failures equal eventually a success. So the 10 of swords here with respect to career is saying, listen, you're smart. You can do a lot. You got some great ideas. Let's kind of like flip all of these around and get into the power of doing that rather than feeling like, oh my God, it's all falling apart. It's easy to go there, but don't go there. It's not going to be worth it. All right. Power struggles for sure. We've got the Hierophant. We talked about that. But you are the sun. When I look at possibilities, you can make things move around you too. Okay? You're the sun and the moon. Because if I read this as your spread, this is who you show up as, and this is your possibility. So you can even elevate your energy some. All right, let's move into relationships. We have Kali here and facing fear. It says major spiritual changes are unfolding. Amen to that, Kali. This is your chance to soar. So Kali is going to come through and make you get real with what's going on. And I've talked about Kali before, being able to kind of like overcome some of those demons in our life. So let's look at your relationships. So we're going to break it into 3 different areas. In love, looking for love, and indifferent to or not focused on love, aka single and happy. For those of you that are in love, I got to turn the camera down for this part. For those of you in love, communication is key. You need to be honest. You need to see each other. You need to be able to validate what's going on. And I think that sometimes we just kind of lose ourselves in a relationship where we focus on one thing or another. So the important thing here is to see, to validate, and to hear one another, not just speak at one another. And if there is a failure, if there is something that fighting is essential to relationships, so you should be able to fight, argue, or resolve a conflict. We do see resolution here, by the way. We have the sun and we have the Hierophant, so there is some sort of a resolution. It just takes a while to get there. So let's not sit in this too much. You could just say, I hear you. We can agree to disagree on this. Let's see what we can do to work around that. It may be a break it moment as much as a make it moment for some of you. This is a big deal. And I talked about my experience where I just had a sort of quiet storm inside and I decided this is it. This is the final straw. If that's it, by the way, you're going to be fine. We have the sun, we have the Hierophant, and the outcome. And I see you sitting pretty here as well with all of that. For those of you looking for love in your life right now, it could come in a few forms. We have like a divine partnership here with the sun and the moon, but there were power issues that come through here. I think that this month, if you are getting to know someone, you could take something that they say wrong because you don't understand their character. So always ask, validate. And that's what the the King of Swords would ask you to do. You're coming through with the Goddess of Pentacles energy, which is protective, which is nurturing. And I think some of you want to make sure that people validate and honor that as well. So it may take, you may not be able to get that from everyone in your life right now. So just be careful. You don't want to demand that, because a queen or a king shouldn't have to. People should just respect and kind of like be drawn to that energy. For some of you, there's an old love coming back in, because we see deep past. In this case, if you're looking for love, I would say be careful, because what I'm seeing here play out is old drama. Instead, look at what might be. Just stay open here. I like that we have a Knight of Cups. Maybe seek out someone different. That would be my advice to you. And there may be sort of an age difference between them. The Sun card tends to be very young or very young-spirited, and the Hierophant tends to be much older. So I'm picking up on age or maturity gaps. I'm picking up on some power dynamics. It's a tricky month for relationships. I have to be honest, if you're single and happy, it's a good month to be single and happy, because what we see here is some recovery energy coming through. We see you being able to put a lot of time and energy into work. We see also this ability to draw in new people, new opportunities, and to get through some sort of a block. So I would say focus on all of that this month. And in relationships, communication is key, not retreading old relationship, sort of like going down the road of dating an ex, etc. I think enough is enough. It's in the past for a reason based on what I'm looking at. All right, so let's go ahead now and look at your final card before the review. We have transformation here. Archangel Zadkiel says, thank you for supporting me to transform my past challenges. So that's what, basically we have death, rebirth energy here coming in at the end, and I much appreciate that. I haven't really studied this angel as much. I know Azrael and Zerakiel are death angels or change angels. This quite possibly can be another one. The important thing with all of this is just that any sort of change or transition angel, they're actually quite beautiful. They come through to help open a door. So if one door closes, Zadkiel is coming in and saying, look over here, I just opened one up for you. It's okay, it's not over, it's the beginning. That's actually what death is in general. I made a character in my book, a call, which is another word for death, after that sort of, I guess, idea, which is, to me, it's the one that stands at the door of ends and beginnings. And that's really what Zadkiel is coming through and saying, are you ready? I've got something else for you. And it almost looks like it's carrying a chalice. So new love, new passion, new opportunity on the horizon. Okay, let's quickly review, and then we'll take a look at some of the deeper questions. So one of them I want to look at is navigating difficult conversations and maybe just finding a way to communicate better. And I like to always do a quick audit. So we have pentacles, we have cups, we don't have any wands. So I want to think about expansion. This can also be like Six of Wands, success, tapping into what's going on. So let me just look at the lack of wands and we'll see what the message is for that. And I do think this has to do with sort of like, where's your head at? Thoughts, headspace. Because I think we have everything else here. Okay, let's do a quick review. All right. So you had two spirit totems today, the chicken, specifically the chicken egg, and then rain, because I just kept seeing tons and tons of monsoon or rain type energy in the dreams. The chicken itself is a symbol of the divine feminine, portending abundance and fertility. However, in the dreams, there was a fragility that came forth, and I saw you not maybe understanding how fragile something is before it hatches. So the first egg that you were holding in your hand cracked, and then and only then were you able to understand the responsibility that is intrinsic to nurturing and birthing something. You have to be there for it in those beginning phases. It's not going to just be able to take care of itself. Patience is essential. And it's not how you start, which is what I've been saying here. It's how you finish a race. You want to focus on learning, adapting, and improving, okay? And unlike track and field, once upon a time, I think you could have a false start. I think they might have gotten rid of that. But in life, it's not the same way. We have many false starts. We have many mistakes, and we learn from them. We adapt. We don't get disqualified. You actually just get stronger as long as you don't make the same mistake twice. I was really intrigued to find out about chicken's ability to remember and remember faces. In everyday life, we could kind of graft this into the idea of being able to remember names and to be grateful and acknowledge any sort of contribution or any sort of assistance. Take time to learn about other people, learn their names, and just be there for them. There is a pecking order within the structure of chickens, and that social hierarchy maintains order. We have similar things here in the world in general. There are traffic regulations. There are certain things that you can do and not do when it comes to preparing food. These things protect us. So certain rules are good. Some rules we can break though. And some of you might be faced with a Hierophant type energy where you're going to face bureaucracy, or you might be looking at a traditional mindset. We've always done this way. Why do we have to change? So be kind, stick to the facts, find common ground. And I actually think find an ally that might be close to that person, because I feel like that's where you're going to be able to really make a difference. So there you go. Respect and regard for rules is going to be important as well. So you don't have to agree with someone, but you don't want to make them feel bad for what they believe. You want to help evolve the way they're thinking. When I did some research for incubating eggs, apparently it takes about 21 days, roughly 3/4 of a month. You're on that kind of a journey right now, possibly 3 weeks from the time that you're watching this. So manifestation is at hand, but it isn't going to happen overnight. Be patient, be persistent, be delicate, nurture. There may be sort of this mother hen energy that you're feeling with respect to holding on to something, not wanting to let it go. You might also be facing that in your life. If it's you that's sort of protecting it, focus on being the upright Empress rather than the Empress reverse, or even like the Hierophant reverse, because they're a little too controlling. They hold on to things more than necessary. If you're going to face the mother hen, much like we just talked about, you want to observe the your own boundaries and make sure that she or he does that, but avoid unnecessary conflict, because 7, 10, and 5 of Swords are just telling us like it's not worth it. There are bigger fish to fry and bigger fights to fight. In dreams, I saw a series of rainstorms like a monsoon. I also saw this physical move that's coming forth. We didn't get the 10 of Wands or the Tower, but that doesn't mean that the move isn't happening. What we did see instead was butterflies, lots of butterflies. And we also see this sort of gentle path here, of change here. She's going through and parting the seas like Moses. So rain to me can be a transitional element. It can be tumultuous at first, but it's very rewarding when it's over. It can be a fertility symbol. And just as I talked about, deserts can have this super bloom that happens where all of the cacti and a lot of other wildflowers that have been sitting in stasis suddenly come to life. New start. It's also an emotional release and end of trauma. It's the 10 of Swords. It's a new dawn though, too. The 10 of Swords isn't the pain, it's the new dawn and the improvement, the butterfly after all of this. The pain is just the doorway. It's just this Zadkiel coming through saying, hey, let's move on. Create a new story if you don't like your current story. You are constantly doing that with your thoughts, with your actions. Redefine what's possible. Use different language and symbols and ideas when you're redefining what's possible. Don't stick with the old stuff. You're the Hierophant reverse. You're the Sun reversed. You're not going through these old power systems. Notice how the only card in the sort of like Kings and Queens that's up, right, is the Queen of Pentacles. Everything else is sort of like counter to, again, what's like rebellious sort of energy towards what the structure or hierarchy is. Getting people's attention, helping them focus on what matters is key. Not losing track of time and purpose is also key. Be honest with yourself, be honest with others, be accountable. If you say you're going to do it, do it. If someone else says they're going to do it, they better do it. And if they don't, you don't have to argue. You're just going to be the King of Swords in and out and say, hey, focus on this. You've got your first and final warning. And I think that's going to be key. We do have the Knight of Cups here at the center, and I don't want to miss that. I feel like it got glossed over a little bit. This is really important and effective for bringing forth new things, new love. It's a really creative energy. It's a really intuitive energy. So once you get past this, we see something really great here. There is a lot of work that you've done on loving yourself. And maybe that's the big message this month. And maybe one of these days I will do, maybe this month, we'll see. Maybe the bonus one can focus on self-love. And then how that kind of translates in relationships, loving self, loving others, and then also kind of like attracting the type of love that you want. That's the message when I see that, is make sure you love yourself. Don't look for validation externally, because you don't always get it the way you want it. We have the Midas touch here with the Queen of Pentacles, which I like. Some of you might be focusing on having a family or starting a family. We see the little hidden rabbit here in the background. I just saw that cute little hair back there. Someone asked me again, what does that mean? That's fertility. Rabbits reproduce pretty quickly. So it may take a little bit of time for something to come forth, but it will come forth. And it does feel like you're starting to see a change. So if something, either figuratively or literally, you have a hard time conceiving or birthing, it feels like there's movement happening this month. Remember the timing that I said. Give it at least 3 weeks to see that shift happen. King of Swords reverse, stand up for yourself, use your communication in an elevated way, say what you need to say, get in and out, that's important. Only fight the fights that are worth fighting. There is some potentially that just are not worth it. We could have two people here too. This could be one person who just doesn't tell the truth or doesn't listen. This is another person who enjoys kind of like getting under your skin. You're not going to play the role of the Ten of Swords. You're going to skip over that to the Sun. You're going to get onto better days. You're going to focus on your health this month, however. And if anything did go not according to plan, you're going to just redo the sort of script as we talked about. You can recreate your future. I really like the Moon card here. This is a powerful Divine Feminine card. Nothing scary about this one, which is what I like. It actually shows the power when you really set your mind and heart to something, that you can move mountains or part the sea, all right? You're going to avoid this as well. It's not necessarily, it's a no-win situation. By the way, the Five of Swords is reversed, so you're going to see it before it happens. Same thing with the Seven of Swords. Someone's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. You're not going to go there. Someone's trying to get you to argue. You're not going to do it. This is a potential future. This is the outcome. Be strong. Remember that your sort of self-development is the key this month. The Sun reverse is focusing on self. Don't let someone else's selfish energy pull you away from that. Hierophant reverse, you're probably going to have to work at convincing someone to do something that's out of their comfort zone, but you've got what it takes to do it. Honesty and communication is really important for your mental health and for your relationship health. Again, taking care of back, and I would say even neck pain could be important as well. Overall, not too many issues with health. I would say there's a little bit with water consumption and also maybe like reproductive or bladder, sort of reproductive organs or bladder. And for a lot of us, they're very close. So just making sure that that part of your body is being nurtured and taken care of. Looking at wealth, there's some healing that's possible. You might need to go, we see guidance here. This could be a guidance counselor. This could be human resources. This could be, talking to a therapist or a social worker, somebody that can help the situation. You need a third party involved, actually, is what I'm seeing with this. And then other messages for wealth. If you're in an environment where it's this, like Seven of Swords, Ten of Swords, Five of Swords, it is time to move on. You can do this elsewhere. You can find a better job. You have power signs here, the Queen of Pentacles, the King of Pentacles, the Moon, the Sun, and the Hierophant. Power, power, power with a lot of distraction here. So let's get out of that sort of energy if possible. Elevate the conversation if necessary and get around that person that's just kind of acting up. Money is okay. I'd like to see a little bit more with resources, but I'll take the Queen of Pentacles. It feels like you're focusing less on making money, more on development this month, and more on kind of resource. With the Moon, it's an attractive energy as well. So you're just kind of pushing and pulling resources around more than anything. Relationships, they have to change. Here we have Kali here, and there's some major shifts going on. So for some of you, you're going to move out of that and focus more, like I said, on self. For some of you, there may be forgiveness that's possible, but I think that you want to be careful about treading down an old relationship. So if an ex comes in, I don't know if they've changed enough based on what I'm looking at here. So take your time, because ultimately the whole thing is to try to shift you into something new, something better, something a little bit more rewarding. We're going to now go a little bit deeper and take a look at the soul path, which helps us navigate through some of the bigger questions that I've noticed here as we've been doing the reading. Quick pause. If you could hit the thumbs up at this point, it'd be really helpful. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you've already done that, thank you. Thanks to everybody, by the way, that has been kind enough to join the channel, give a super chat, or be a Patreon patron. I appreciate you. All right, let's move on into navigating difficult conversations. Saying something you don't want to say, like I quit, or you hurt my feelings, or we need to talk, whatever this difficult conversation is for you. We've all had them. You can't live life without having a difficult conversation, right? The neighbor's playing music too loud, whatever. There's something. Very rarely, I don't know anybody that hasn't had a difficult conversation. I actually had a job where we had to take a class on how to have those difficult conversations. There's an art to it. So I think it would be nice to maybe do a reading sometime with some of those tips and techniques plus what the cards would show. Okay. How can you say what you need to say without either swallowing your words or hurting someone's feelings? Okay, perfect. 10 of Cups. You can do this. You've got this. You might also do it with the help of someone else. This can be, so if you do have a difficult conversation, like coming out, for instance, you could come out to a brother or sister first and then come out to your parents. Or you come out to your mom or someone else. There's an example of that. If you need to make a change happen at work, it could be about like getting together a group of people, not to kind of like gang up on someone, but to sort of like give you some support and say, hey, this is something we've noticed. We'd like to come to you with an idea. You don't have to do it alone. So the advice in this card is power in numbers. Also, you are loved because it's the 10 of Cups. You are loved because we also have the Lovers here. So lean on somebody. Lean on someone and have them help you. Have them give you the validation that you need or the support that you need. Even if they're just sitting behind you, kind of like, I'm just here to help you feel better. Whatever, that's fine. That's how you can start it. Also, what is this? Love. So infuse love in the difficult conversation. So if there's someone in your life that's having a difficult time dealing with something, say, I love you. Because I love you, I want you to be happy. It doesn't seem like you're happy right now. Can I help you with something? Is there something you want to talk to me about? And if they don't bring it up, say, well, then I want to talk to you about something. Don't let them get off the hook, but start it with love and say, again, because I love you, because I want you to be happy and healthy. You could also, if this is a boss, say, I love working here. I love working for you. But there's something going on that we need to look at that's making it difficult to just be productive, to be happy, to be in love with my job. So let's work on this. Use the word love. It's powerful. So you don't have to always say, I love you, but you can say, I love this, or I care about you. Put some sort of emotion in there, but don't be afraid to use love, okay? Love is the key to the difficult conversation because then it's not about them. It's about how they feel. It's about that higher energy. It's pretty good advice, actually. Always focusing on caring about the person and supporting the person, setting them up for success, making their happiness come first. Great advice. Thank you, Tarot. All right, let's look at your next question here, which was the fact that we don't have a lot of wands. So I normally would associate wands with cognitive and management sort of energy. So looking at how to manage yourself a little bit more, because there is distraction with these conversations and other things. So how can you manage your time and energy a little bit more? What can you do to kind of just be smarter about all of that? All right, we've got the Knight of Pentacles or the Son of Pentacles in this. So whatever it is that you want to see movement on, you are your own agent of change. You are the one that you need to lean on. So even if you do have that kind of mother hen energy, if there's people arguing around you, you are not going to be overly bothered. You're going to be focusing on finishing what you've started and finding someone who's interested in what you have to offer. So take the initiative is what I would say here. And also you're very resourceful. You can take something and grow it, even if you don't have what you think you need. Very resourceful energy here. Stay grounded in what your purpose is, because ultimately our pentacles are all about earth and about grounding. And I think that's really key. So I like that. Also, if we look behind this knight, we see crops, right? We see someone that's ready to kind of get ready to harvest something. So the work that you've put in, this is like the big seed. You're going to be able to, just like we're missing the Nine of Pentacles, but ultimately this could lead to Nine of Pentacles, which is abundance, more than enough, being able to support yourself. I mean, it already is over that because it's in the court cards, but I like to see partnering energies here. So you've got what it takes. You're going to make this work. He's also holding on to what it is that he wants, that little egg that's incubating. So don't let go of that egg, because to me, pentacles can be a seed, an egg, an idea. Okay, so even though we didn't get wands in this, we're still seeing that seed of an idea. So take it, nurture it, and don't let anyone sort of pull you off that path. I love the way that she illustrated the eyes in this deck. You can kind of see all kinds of little stars in the eyes. So keep your eyes, because we have the eye here. So keep your thoughts and keep your attention on the higher path, on the elevated sort of path ahead. All right. Finally, a wild card before we get into the meditation, and then I'll answer your question after that. So the wild card this month, something that we haven't yet focused on, but should be focusing on, maybe like how not to get distracted by all of these conversations, for instance. Three of Cups. Okay, Three of Cups in its upright position is celebratory. So one thing that I'd like to remind you to do is to celebrate little victories. That's really important. It gets lost sometimes. The Three of Cups is also being open to people that want to come into your life. It feels like there's movement happening, new people coming in. But the Three of Cups in reverse can be worrying about gossip, approval, fitting into a sort of tight-knit group. And I would say sometimes you don't need to do that. This is kind of like Mean Girls, right? So if there's a group of people that you can't make them happy, it can be even your own family sometimes, right? There's certain siblings that kind of, gang up on you or whatever. Who cares at the end of the day? It's not worth the energy. People are going to say what they're going to say. Something magical happens when you get older. As you go through each decade, once you get out of 20s and 30s, when you're in your 40s, you just stop caring as much. When you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, it's sort of like, I know exactly how much energy I'm going to give to that person. And I'm not going to worry if someone criticizes me, because you have to take into account who they are, where they're at in their life journey. And these people here, I wouldn't worry so much about them. In relationships, this is about rekindling a spark, being honest. It could also be about, for some of you, there's a question like, is this the person that I want to be with? I always see the Three of Cups as an opportunity, but sometimes a question mark. So you may be at a point in your relationship where you're trying to answer that question. How deep is your love, right? Like the old Bee Gees song. So you have to kind of meditate on that a little bit to figure it out. But based on what I'm seeing here this month, communication is going to be a really important factor into figuring that out, because I think a strong relationship should be one where you can share hopes and fears, where you can have a disagreement, but not like have someone storm out. You have to be able to have that sort of stronger adult energy step in. But again, ultimately, if we just look at your soul path, it's really beautiful. Love. Love is how you navigate the difficult conversations. Keeping your mind elevated, keeping the eye on the prize, and incubating what you've been trying to create is also key. And then not being bothered, not bothered by what these people think is key. It's still a very attractive energy. The fact that you got the Lovers, the 10 of Cups, and the 3 of Cups really portends good things. So I feel good about that. Let's do a meditation. And then while we're meditating, I'd like you to think of something that I haven't asked you just yet. And then you can ask me that silent question after we meditate. Let me go ahead and pull the singing bowl up here first. And let's take a look at what we could do for the meditation today. There's so many things. I like the idea. I really love that, the moon card there, where we're looking at her kind of like part the water. So let's imagine that you have this ability to part the sea, to get an obstacle out of your way. Maybe even pulling a little bit of what we would see with like the magician or the high priestess energy into this as well. So see yourself in front of however big you feel like your obstacle would be. It can be it can be a stream, it can be a puddle, it can be the ocean itself. But imagine that you're standing in front of something that is symbolized by that water, that there's a block in front of you. And rather than having to go under it or around it, you're going to walk through it. You're going to find a straighter path to your tomorrow. So close your eyes, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, neck, and back, let go. And imagine that you have the capacity to kind of be like an elemental god or goddess. And just as Zeus can control the sky, you have control over the element of water. The control over your emotions this month. And imagine that in this space in your mind, that you could reach out your hands and start to lift up or part or move the water away from your path. And as you do this, I want you to own your power and think, I am not beholden to my emotions, to the whims or emotional sort of energy of people around me. I release my sadness. If I need to, I'm just going to push the water to the side. I'm going to allow it now to kind of cascade away like a waterfall. I'm no longer beholden or weighted down by this emotional weight. And as you do this now, you see a path, a golden path line in front of you. If you want to, you can even imagine that there's like a glass bridge, just so you don't feel like there's going to be any dampness or the water's coming back or anything. You've created this crystalline glass bridge from where you're at to where you need to be. The water is gone, and you get this sense of clarity, of opening. And after the water is gone, you see all these things growing because they've been enriched by that energy of the water. So just like that super bloom where all of the wildlife is starting to come into blossom and bloom, you see that happening. If you're really imaginative, you could just imagine that you walk across the water and you don't even need to be bothered, like the Three of Cups, with what's going on, because you're taking the higher path and you're going to walk on this crystalline sort of bridge taking you to the horizon. And the horizon can be symbolic. It could be you walking toward the sun, into the sun, becoming the sun. And then arising in the sky if you really want to get creative with this meditation. So I'll allow you to take it where you'd like to as I play the singing bowl for a moment or two here. Just relax and allow your energy to feel lighter, brighter, and more powerful than it was when you came in. Take a deep breath. Exhale. And imagine now that you found your way back to your body, or that you're as light as a feather, or you are the sun in the sky that's moving across the sky, wherever you want to be. But for the sake of this final question, it would be good to come back into your body so we can ask it and focus on this together. So find your way back into your body and imagine that you travel like a ray of light through your crown chakra, and you're able to sense all the things that you can as a human again, taking your hands, rubbing them together, putting your hands on your heart, making a promise to yourself to keep this higher, brighter energy, to not be beholden to energetic whims of yourself or others. Focus on your final question for me. You don't have to type it out, just think it. I'm going to shuffle the cards and we're going to see what's coming through. Thank you so much, everyone who just gave stickers. I appreciate it. All right, final question. Send it to me, and let's see what the advice is from the cards and guides. You got a lot of love cards this month. You have the Two of Cups. So it's a lot like what I saw with the Ten of Cups and the Lovers here. The Two of Cups was reversed. So there is... for some of you, it feels like you're trying to navigate and have this other person sort of see it from your perspective, if there's another person in your life that you're thinking about with this question. And I would say, give them some time. Remember what we talked about earlier, that change happens slowly. So I think it's important to state what you need to state and then see if they react to that, see how connected they are. And you want to kind of go from this unloading energy to being receptive and saying, all right, show me what you've got. As a yes/no question, this is a not yet, because the Two of Cups in reverse, the reason, or I could put it this way, the reason what you're trying to do hasn't happened yet is because you want it too much. And I just got a sting in my stomach as I said that. So for some of you, you are trying so much to, the Two of Cups could be something that you loved. Like if you're trying to find a new house, a new job, a new whatever. There's so much desire attached to it that you just kind of need to let it go a little bit. I actually want to see the cups in the upright position because they're overflowing, they're receptive, and they don't need as much. So let go of whatever it is you're trying to do. And the less you focus on it, the more it's going to kind of come in, or less you try to control it. You should focus on manifesting it, but you want to want it, not need it. And that's going to help you a little bit on this. With relationships, reciprocity is key. You're not alone. You're so not alone this month, because in the deep past, we have the Lovers. In this sort of final question, we have the Ten of Cups. And in how to have difficult conversations, we have the 10 of cups here. So 2 of cups, 10 of cups, the lovers. So with the 2 of cups here, be open to receiving. What you might receive may not exactly sort of fit what you expected, but weigh it out, figure it out, and see if it's what you want. Ultimately, I like the 2 of cups. If you're looking for love, it's a yes. Remember what we said earlier, though, that incubation periods for new things could take up to 3 weeks. So as you start to manifest a new goal, give yourself up to a month to see progress happening on any front, okay? But if I were to pick a card and pick a minor, I'm very happy with the 2 of cups. I just want you to be patient, ready, and I want to see reciprocity with it. So make sure all of those things are present in whatever your question was asking about. And take care of yourself. You count too. That's part of this. You matter. So there you go. Because both of these, there's a little bit more energy being put in others. You basically got all the love cards. You got all the love cards. The only thing that's missing here is the 4 of Wands, right? But otherwise, I feel like you got it. Ace of Cups, maybe. But everything else I see, I got just about every possible, the lovers, the 10 of cups, the 2 of cups, the 3 of cups. You have some choices with that. You can be discerning. So one last mini review and then we're going to wrap up. By the way, if you haven't hit like already, please consider doing that. It helps. And then I'm going to talk about, I have a collective reading on the weekend, by the way. So stay tuned and I'll give you some more info about that. So elevate conversations with empathy, with love, with concern of others. Focus on what you need to be working on, see it to fruition. Harvest that sort of beautiful energy that you've been creating. Don't focus so much on others because both of these cups cards reversed are focused solely on the other people or person. You need to be there. We need to see your ace. I want to see an ace of cups upright. I feel like that would be what's necessary to fix all of this. All right, quickly, let me just remind you that this Sunday at 9 a.m., I have a collective reading for everyone. It's our mid-month collective. So I'm going to pull up these links here if I can find them. Let me open it up. I don't yet. I'm going to post the link on my YouTube page later today, so you can set a reminder later. I didn't have time to do that this morning because I've been busy, especially since I've been doing the mini readings on TikTok and Instagram every day. It's taken up some of my time, so be patient with me. But that will be, it's this weekend. And Maria, can you put the link to my schedule for the weekend? I'm going to just put the next 3 upcoming readings here, or the next 2 here. We have Mid-Month Collective on Sunday the 11th and Libra on the 12th. So these are the next 2 big sign readings. And then I have 2 other collectives at the end of the month. And you can get all of this on my website. Let me grab the link here because I think I might be a minute behind for her. So let's see, schedule. There we go. Here's the schedule. So everything will be there, and I will update the link for the collective later today. I just need a few hours to get all of those links finished. So keep an eye there. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Misha. Thank you, Hey. Thank you, everybody today who gave extra. It really does make a difference. And this is one of my new favorite decks, if you haven't figured it out. It's just so beautiful. So I'm going to keep investing in that. I recently got Modern Witch as well. I have True Heart Tarot. There's a bunch of new ones that I've been buying that I just really enjoy because it's cool to sort of have different energy in here. So thank you so much. I reinvested. I do new videos and buy new cards, so I appreciate it. Final thing before we wrap up, if you haven't already followed me on social media, now's the perfect time to do so. So just to remind you of my links, it's pretty much my name across social media. So at Nicholas Ashbaugh on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. If you want to find out more about my book, same thing on Goodreads. So definitely follow me there. I will also put reminders on, not Instagram, but on Twitter. Twitter, it's @Ashbaugh. It's the only one that's different. I do mini reads now on TikTok and Instagram, so check it out if you'd like to. Thank you, everybody who has given back. You make all the difference here, as you know. You can also do this on by applauding later, and that's right by share and like. That is only available on desktop and Android at this time. And finally, it's free and it helps. It really does help everyone. Hit the thumbs up once. Don't hit it if you've already done it. And if you've never subscribed, subscribe. I still have, oddly enough, somewhere around 60% that do not subscribe to my channel. So though they watch me, so I have like maybe 30 to 40% of consistent subscribers, and then the other 60 watch but don't subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. It's the same as follow, and it's essential to channel growth and success. If you are a fan of sci-fi fantasy, You can check out my book. It's called The Luminous Ones. It's actually on sale on Amazon right now. I don't control that, but they do. I think it's around $16 in the US right now, the paperback, which is really cheap for that. And it's available in paperback, hardcover, and ebook. But if you don't like Dune or Lord of the Rings, this may not be your cup of tea. Just show up for my readings. It means the world, and it helps more than you know. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks, Maria, for your help today. And I will be back, like I said, this Sunday at 9 a.m. for a collective. The link will show up later this afternoon on my page. So thanks for being patient as I get that set up. All right, everyone. Have a fantastic day. Join me again on the weekend, and take care of yourselves. Have a great month ahead as well. All right. Bye-bye.